Kingdom Hearts 4 is finally happening, so I guess it's a good time to remember the very beginning of this strange yet beloved saga. For many, the first game is still one of the greatest PlayStation 2 titles, if not one of the best games ever made. But it came out 24 years ago. Does it still hold up? Is it really that good? Let's dive back in and find out. Just the title screen already has something special. It's funny, almost all games have title screens, but they rarely make them good. Kingdom Hearts simply gives you a logo and a drawing while you listen to the waves and a calm piano. It achieves something difficult, making something as irrelevant as the title screen become a memorable and characteristic part of the saga. When you select a new game, it begins with a CGI scene, like the introductions of the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy game, but this time they don't show you events that will happen in the game. Instead, they summarize it metaphorically. The first time, it's just a succession of beautiful yet nonsensical sequences accompanied by a great song, but it will all make sense once you've played the game. The intro transitions naturally to gameplay, the first level, known as Dive to the Heart. Kingdom Hearts divides its tutorial into two halves, both great reasons why the game hooked so many kids from the start. The trailers already show that this game intends to be something more than a typical Disney game, seeking a special, more mysterious and darker aesthetic. Dive to the Heart immediately showcases that aesthetic, with Sora in the void exploring strange stained glass floors that display various Disney princesses while you learn to play and make decisions. The first thing a perceptive player will notice is that there are two distinct voices guiding Sora. One of them is diegetic. Someone is speaking to Sora, showing us that this is not a dream, as it might seem. The other is a direct tutorial, speaking to the player to show them how to jump, attack, and what the HUD means. It may seem a bit clumsy, but you have to take into account that many children would ask for this game, so explaining things like, this is your health, if it drops to 0, you die, is necessary. But at the same time, there are things that aren't explained, and honestly, I don't know if they should be. The first thing you do is choose between a sword, a staff, and a shield. Anyone can guess that this is some kind of class selection. One will make Sora stronger, another a better mage, and the other have more defense. Well, yes, but actually no. Each weapon changes the order in which Sora obtains his abilities. For example, MP Haste, which increases the amount of magic you get when you attack. With the sword, you get it at level 45. With the staff, much earlier, at level 21, and with the shield, much later, at level 72. This Kingdom Hearts, being the first, had not yet established its foundations, and it has strange things that the next do not. The other games divide their abilities between main ones that you obtain during the story, and secondary ones that you get by leveling up. Not this one! The vast majority of abilities are obtained by leveling up, so this decision is the most important in the game despite happening before the first minute. I know I'm talking a lot about this tutorial, but it's iconic and quite a bit of what happens in it matters for the rest of the game. Its final sequence is probably the most memorable. The voice explains that the brighter the light, the greater its shadow, and we witness how Sora's shadow transforms into the game's first boss while an amazing song plays. I love this. Do you know the typical RPG meme? First level, kill some rats, last level, kill God? I wish I could see the kids' faces when they thought, I'm going to play a cool Disney game. Level 1, defeat the dark side of your soul. The fight is comically simple despite the intimidating size of our enemy. A first-time player might attack Darkseid's fist and fight the shadows it summons, while a more skilled or intelligent player will realize that you can climb onto its arm to hit its face and that you can reflect its projectiles. Once again, it must be remembered that this game is designed for children, and also that, in early 2002, they knew this would be many people's first action game, so it restrains itself in its first hours. Win or lose, Sora wakes up at home, the Destiny Islands. doubting whether what just happened was a dream or not. This is the second half of the tutorial, just as perfect as the first, but for different reasons. While the dive to the heart was direct and linear, the islands present you with an open area that you must explore and optional objectives, allowing the player to learn how to play organically in a controlled environment. Your mission is to collect various items, so you will have to thoroughly explore the entire location, learning to jump and pay attention to your surroundings, something simpler and more automatic for the inexperienced player than a combat system. As you're doing this, you can challenge your friends. Final Fantasy characters turn into children. There's no risk of losing, it's just for fun. However, these fights also serve as hidden tutorials. Waka represents enemies with projectiles. You must return his attacks and then corner him. Selphie represents enemies with a longer range than you. Clashing your sword with her wide attacks stuns her. Tidus represents enemies that challenge you to duels. You must be patient and let him attack, then you dodge and counterattack. Lastly, Sora's rival, Riku, is the most important due to teaching a mechanic that's harder to teach organically. This type of game has to deal with a problem. What should an enemy do so that the player can beat them up endlessly till death? Kingdom Hearts uses revenge value. After a certain number of hits, the enemy will teleport or counterattack during your combo. Kingdom Hearts 2 will become famous for using this concept more and better, but you can already find it here. It's funny, many nostalgically remember Riku as this impossible enemy because of his damn kick that deletes half your health, when it's as simple as realizing that Riku does the kick every 4 hits. If you mash the attack button without thinking, like we all did as kids, it's practically impossible to win. A bit of patience disarms Riku almost completely. Hey, since we're talking about Riku, let's wrap up discussing the excellent tutorial that this beginning is and move on to something that will interest some people much more: the story. While each person who enjoys video games does so for different reasons, they could be split into 2 big groups: those who prioritize gameplay and those who prioritize the story. Kingdom Hearts has attracted many from both groups, and although I belong to the first, I also enjoyed the game for its narrative and will comment on it as well, although perhaps not in as much detail. When Sora wakes up from his dream, he is introduced properly along with his 2 friends, Riku and Kairi. Kingdom Hearts 1 should be studied as much as Star Wars A New Hope as a masterpiece of character introduction. Right from the first scene, we see that Sora is funny, calm, and eager to see the world. Riku is competent and reliable, but also a bit of a show-off, and Kairi is a girl. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but joke. In this game, Kairi is the least important of the main trio, and it's fine. The story works better that way, but Kairi's importance decreases instead of increasing as the games go on, and now she has the unfortunate reputation of being the saga's least developed character. But that's the future. Let's focus on the present. As you progress, you will see more scenes of these 3 friends, and deeper facets begin to emerge. The group's mission is to build a raft to leave this island and explore the world, but each one takes it very differently. Sora simply wants to see the other worlds, he wants adventure, but he's happy on the islands. Riku needs to leave, he feels trapped and despises the islands. Kairi adores them and seems like she would prefer to stay, but she's willing to accompany them because her true home is with her loved ones, not the place where she lives. Something that most people forget is that Sora is presented as somewhat shy and self-conscious due to feeling inferior to Riku. Sora likes Kairi, and every time she says something that could imply she likes him too, he responds with his iconic, "Huh?"
Sora, let's take the raft and go. Just the 2 of us. Huh? Just kidding. Sora, don't ever change. Huh?
Riku mocks this twice, once even giving Sora a chance to admit what he feels, but he ignores it the first time and gets angry the second. When you enter the friend's secret place, a cave where they paint on the walls with a mysterious door without a keyhole, Sora finds a drawing that Kairi and him made as children, and he draws himself giving her a paupu, a fruit that, according to legend, if shared, the destinies of both will become intertwined. Since Sora is unable to openly express his feelings, he tries to relieve some pressure by expressing them through this drawing. It's a beautiful moment, but it is interrupted.
What? Who's there?
I've come to see the door to this world.
Huh?
This world has been connected.
This scene is terrifying for a child. A hooded adult corners Sora in a small, isolated place and speaks in a disturbing manner before disappearing as quickly as they appeared. Watching this scene and the ones I've shown of Sora and his friends, I can't help but think something. I want to keep comparisons to a minimum to analyze this first adventure on its own, but I have to say this. One of Kingdom Hearts 3's criticisms is how cold and unexpressive the characters are in many of their scenes. Simplistic voice acting and repeated basic animations, but these Kingdom Hearts 1 early scenes are fluid, very well dubbed, the characters are expressive. I don't understand what happened between here and there. Sora is masterfully introduced as the comic relief among his friends, something uncommon for a main character. When Kairi catches him sleeping when he should be working on the raft, she gives him a smack, and then Riku throws a log at him. When Riku gets all full dramatic teenager, Sora responds with, "I don't know," and lies down, probably to sleep again. This doesn't mean that this game doesn't have flaws either. This terrifying scene loses some impact because the game doesn't wait for you to leave the cave before playing the island music again. Curiously, despite having such simple little flaws, Kingdom Hearts 1 achieves something very difficult, combining narrative with gameplay. The rivalry between Sora and Riku and the former's feeling of inferiority are felt by you because Riku is difficult to defeat, both in combat and in a race, and on top of that, Sora and Riku keep score, so if Riku beats you several times, you'll have to hear Sora 0, Riku 4, and honestly, it hurts. The race in particular is so annoying because Riku jokes that if he wins, he'll get to share a papu with Kairi, scaring Sora and making the player desperate to win. I've been talking about this for far too long. This beginning is excellent. It's so good that you grow fond of these peaceful and beautiful islands, making it very bitter to lose them. After finally building the raft, that very night there is a horrible storm. When Sora goes to rescue it, he discovers that his friends had the same idea, and the monsters from his dream appear. Trying to attack them with their wooden sword is obviously useless, so you have to flee. Soon you'll see that Riku is waiting where he always does, but it seems he's gone a little bit crazy. The intensity of the scene begins when Riku offers his hand to Sora, just as he does in the intro, symbolizing how we have started the story. Sora tries to help him and gets trapped by the darkness, but then an intense light saves him. A strange sword has appeared in his hand, and the voice from Sora's dream manifests in reality to reveal its name to us: Keyblade. Immediately you find yourself surrounded by enemies and discover that now you can defend yourself. A mysterious door prevents you from entering the cave, but now that you carry a key, you can open it. There you find Kairi, who has also lost her marbles a bit, but we don't even get to talk to her. The door suddenly bursts open, releasing a hurricane, and Kairi disappears when Sora tries to grab her. Sora is thrown outside. The dark storm has reached a point where the islands have been ripped from the ground and are flying. And in this conundrum, the boss who started the tutorial comes back to end it. Darkseid is slightly stronger and has a new attack. Apart from that, it is not particularly more difficult than before, but this time the fight is to the death. Victory, however, doesn't mean much as both Darkseid and Sora end up being swept away by the storm. In another place very far, far away, Donald Duck discovers that King Mickey has noticed that there are fewer and fewer stars in the sky, which means that something is destroying the worlds. Mickey decides to embark on a solitary journey to end this great tragedy, and orders Donald and Goofy to travel to Traverse Town and find someone named Leon, who will guide them to the key. From the outside, it might seem strange to see these Disney characters, but it turns out to be surprisingly appropriate. Disney has a larger age range than most want to admit. Just look at my two favorite Disney movies, Mulan and The Incredibles. Both can be enjoyed by children, but many of their themes aren't for children. Disney isn't for kids, it's for all ages, a difference that some don't want to understand. Goofy's most famous movie is about how hard it is for a father to get along with his teenage son, who is Sora's age more or less. Speaking of Sora, what happened to him? When Donald and Goofy arrive at Traverse Town, they see a star disappear, something visually small, but we know it's the death of a world. Our world. Donald proves to be a damn idiot by ignoring Goofy's suggestion, which would have led them directly to the key. Sora's first reaction is joy at seeing that he's in another world, but it doesn't last long due to the situation in which his dream has come true. You run into Sid from Final Fantasy VII, with whom Sora shows concern for his missing friends. And as you try to explore this world, you witness how the monster from the islands devour the heart of a civilian. You are in another world, but facing the same danger, symbolized by the song that plays, the same in both worlds. If someone wonders why I don't talk more about the music, it's because if I did, I would have to interrupt the video every 3 minutes to comment on how one song or another is amazing. The soundtrack was made by Yoko Shimomura, and whether it's adaptations of Disney songs or original themes from Kingdom Hearts, it's absolutely incredible, one of the best soundtracks in gaming. For example, Traverse Town is one of the most fondly remembered. Unfortunately, this is where the game makes its first mistake. Some remember Kingdom Hearts 1 as a game with horrible exploration or level design. This couldn't be further from the truth, but that memory arises from several specific moments where the game doesn't show what the player should do to progress, and this is the first occasion. Clearly, the game wants you to get lost and feel like Sora, confused and scared, but the complete lack of guidance ultimately leads to frustration, one of the feelings that no art should provoke. The solution is to return to Sid's shop, where the only save point is located. When leaving, Sora will be ambushed by Leon and the game will continue. It's not a bad idea since that's the only save point, you have to go there at some point, but a patient or stubborn player might spend up to an hour exploring Traverse Town thinking they haven't found a way to continue. Leon, by the way, is the first proper Final Fantasy character, none other than Squall, the main character of Final Fantasy VIII. I find it funny that the only reason he's called Leon is to hide his identity until Sora meets him, and now he is doomed to use that nickname for the rest of the saga. Squall is your first serious battle. His fire spell is harder to reflect than Wakka's boss, don't laugh, and he attacks surprisingly fast, so if you don't clash your sword with his, he'll wipe the floor with you. Most players lose here and discover that this is one of several battles you can lose in this game. Sora falls unconscious and is taken to a hotel, where Squall and Yuffie explain what's happening to him, while Aerith does the same with Donald and Goofy. This cutscene is one of the most interesting in the entire saga, as it constantly switches between both groups so that the dialogue doesn't become boring despite being all exposition. It's confirmed that what Sora carries is a Keyblade, a legendary weapon that chooses its wielder, capable of saving worlds and destroying the terrible Heartless, the monsters we are fighting. When someone dies, the darkness of their heart loses control and transforms them into these beings. So we are fighting against the physical form of people's evil. That's some horrifying enemies for supposedly a game for children. The Heartless appear and force us to escape from the hotel. Squall tells us to find the big one, so you know a boss fight is coming. Indeed, when you enter the 3rd district, Sora, Donald and Goofy finally meet. I absolutely love the progression of this short scene, which goes from comedy when Donald and Goofy crash into Sora, to suspense when they find themselves trapped and cornered, to epic when this trinity stands up to fight together for the first time. After defeating a few more Heartless, the first true boss of the game, Guard Armor, appears. Its limbs move independently, so you have to break its hands and feet. Like Squall, a smart player will clash the Keyblade with their attacks, but while Squall barely recoiled, this leaves the armor very vulnerable. Most players will do it unintentionally by attacking constantly. One of Kingdom Hearts' problems is that most challenges can be solved with a frantic head-on attack. In this case, there's a good balance. It's easy to deflect their blows because we're just starting to play, but someone who attacks recklessly will still end up taking some hits, and if you play on proud, Guard Armor can easily kill you in 2 or 3 hits. It's interesting how Square experiments with teamwork. In Final Fantasy, it is almost non-existent, with the only exception being 15. Chrono Trigger had the text system. Here, Kingdom Hearts barely has a strategic component. Donald and Goofy simply fight alongside you. But that's already enough. They are capable of dealing good damage, and if your health drops too low, you'll hear them yelling, "Don't give up!" while they rush to throw you potions to heal you. Sometimes, less is more. You don't need to create an AI that's out of this world or multiple team mechanics. Sometimes, all it takes is hearing a friend saying don't give up so you don't feel alone in a fight. Sora, Donald and Goofy defeat this great enemy and agree to travel together. A twist that I really like is that you, as a player, trust Donald and Goofy because they are silly Disney characters, but they, particularly Donald, show that they are not so innocent when they lie to Sora to get him to join them. They are using him because Mickey ordered them to find the key and they need him.
Wonder if I could find Riku and Kairi.
Of course!
Are you sure?
Who knows? But we need them to come with us to help us find the kid.
You lying fuck! Despite this, the scene ends beautifully with a
All for one, one for all.
We also witness how the Disney villains are watching the chosen wielder of the Keyblade, led by Maleficent, making it clear who we are going to face. This is where the game really begins. We can now travel to the Disney worlds where we have also unlocked party members, Trinity marks, magic, and abilities. Let's go one by one. The party members, in this case Donald and Goofy, participate in battles as we've already seen, but we also need to equip them with weapons and accessories and configure them. When someone complains that allies in Kingdom Hearts are useless, it's because they haven't equipped or customized them. Trinity marks are little drawings you find around that allow Sora, Donald and Goofy to perform techniques that unlock paths or treasure chests. It's a silly thing, but it's cute and shows how their friendship is strengthening. Right now we can only use the blue marks, but there are also green, red, yellow, and white ones, which we will unlock as we become better friends. Magic and abilities increase the game's complexity. For now, we only learn Fire, a fireball that damages a single enemy, but it hurts quite a bit for the stage we're at, and it's our first ranged tool. We can also use it for exploration. Perhaps you've seen a door with an inscribed flame. Of course, using fire on it opens it. You might have unlocked an ability before this, but now you unlock Dodge Roll, the best movement in the game and what you'll use most to avoid damage. And now we finally take off. Let's start our adventure. The game lets us go to 2 worlds, but it indicates the danger level of each one, showing us a recommended path. The time has come to talk about the Gummy Ship. Unfortunately, it is infamous within the saga, mainly due to the early journeys. What makes the Gummy Ship fun is that you will find more and better gummies as you play, so by the time you are finishing Act 2, starting Act 3, your Gummy Ship will be a winged fortress of death and destruction that flies at the speed of light. But for now, it's a piece of junk that moves like a turtle, resulting in slow and incredibly boring journeys between worlds. The first Disney world is Alice in Wonderland. A curious choice for the first world, a 1951 film instead of one of their more popular and modern properties. That said, it offers a lot of potential for fun exploration. The first thing you do is drink a potion that makes the group shrink. Later, you can grow big to unlock a couple of chests, talk to certain flowers to exchange items, or explore a room by walking on the walls and ceilings. It can be very confusing and overwhelming. I wouldn't have made it the first world, but once you settle in a bit, it's one of the best. If we look at the narrative, it's a strange beginning. Sora behaves like a hero for the first time, interrupting Alice's trial, literally bursting into the plot of the movie. It's so fun to watch. The Queen forces you to look for evidence of Alice's innocence. There are 4 scattered throughout the next stage, but whether you find 1 or 4, the Queen refuses to believe you because for a leader, being right is more important than the truth, and she sends her guards after you. And during the fight, someone kidnaps Alice. The plan has gone perfectly. The Cheshire Cat tells you that the shadows have taken her. You might see the correlation between her and Kairi, 2 young girls who have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The cat helps you unveil the shadows. After lighting some candles, the world's boss, Trickmaster, appears. It seems to be made to scare the player when you see that you can't fight it like guard armor. It doesn't stagger when you clash attacks, and only its torso is vulnerable, which is too high to reach. You will have to use the room to your advantage, whether it's the chair, the table, or the corner, to gain height and jump toward him. But you can play at that game. Trickmaster will break the chair and the table to stop you and will use the oven to throw fire at you. A rather imaginative and fun fight. We're done with simple enemies. Our reward for this victory is an awkward scene where the group sees that there is a keyhole inside doorknob. The Keyblade reacts automatically and shoots a beam at it while mystical music plays and the sound of something closing is heard. This is the franchise's first keyhole. If you return to Traverse Town, Squall and Yuffie explain that each world has a keyhole that protects its heart. If a Heartless enters it, the world is consumed by darkness. That's what happened to the Destiny Islands. But the Keyblade has the power to seal the keyholes, preventing the Heartless from entering it, saving the world from destruction. Why didn't they tell us this before at the hotel? It seems like something very important! I really like how Sora is not at all thrilled about being the champion and savior of the universe. He wanted to travel to other worlds to explore them with his friends, not to be responsible for their survival and fight monsters alongside a duck and a dog. I don't know whether to find it funny or infuriating that this is the first keyhole. It's the only one that's comical instead of epic and or beautiful. Overall, Wonderland is strange with hardly any story. It can be confusing if you explore it and short if you don't, but I enjoy it a lot. I like the exploring, I like the combat, I like the vibe, I have fun! The next world is Tarzan, a world infamous for being confusing and frustrating. Many people today still call it the worst level design that Square has ever made. I would like to defend it because now I enjoy playing it, but I can't because both the newcomer's frustration and the veteran's enjoyment stem from the "how was I supposed to know that" feeling. Let's do them all in a row so you can see how absurd it is. The fastest way to descend from the treehouse to the camp is through the tree sliding minigame. The first time it's fun, but having to repeat it is a pain. It turns out that if you open the menu and click leave, you arrive at your destination immediately. Now you have to go back up. For that, there's a vine minigame. This one isn't fun, so repeating it is even less amusing. You can activate time trial challenge modes by interacting with a flower. If you do, open the menu and click leave and you arrive at your destination immediately. A destination that, by the way, when most people reach it, wonder, and now what? It seems like a dead end if you don't see that the slightly greener and more lush part is climbable. And then the same problem as in Traverse Town repeats itself. There's a point where you have to save gorillas from the Heartless by fighting in each main room. But once you've done that, the game doesn't move forward until you return to the camp. Each and every one of these things prompts a "how was I supposed to know that?" exclamation, a phrase you never want to hear from a player and the reason why so many remember this world with such anger. A real shame because there are good things. This is the only Disney world where Sora, Donald and Goofy aren't friends. Donald didn't want to land because he can't imagine Mickey being here, while Sora does believe that his friends could be in this world, causing a fight that doesn't end until the very end. A fight that Donald is 100% to blame for. You are supposed to be together to look for Riku, Kairi and Mickey, and then you don't let Sora look for his friends? You're a bitch, Donald! The combat starts to get interesting. The Heartless Primates are your first agile enemies, and the boss is infamous for being the first to pose a real threat. You have to fight against Layton, who shoots from a distance, and the Stealth Snake, who becomes invisible and shoots laser beams at the same time. This was the first major obstacle for the kids playing the game. Remember that now we're playing the 1.5 version of the compilations, but the original PlayStation 2 version didn't let you skip scenes, so many remember the brilliant and poetic dialogue that precedes the battle. Ha! 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 Not Clayton!
Not Clayton!
The world ends very well, exploring a cave hidden behind a waterfall where you find the world's keyhole. Much more epic than shoving a ray of light down Doorknob's throat. After this, we see that it was the Disney villains who kidnapped Alice, making it clear that they have a plan. Overall, I really like this world, but it's easy to say that now that I've completed this game 500 times and know all the speedrunning tricks. If someone is playing for the first time, I would understand if they didn't like it. We finished the first batch of worlds with Hercules. But this time, instead of exploring a scenario based on the movie, it's a coliseum. Turns out that this level is unique. Instead of jumping, exploring, fighting, leaving, you will unlock various tournaments as you progress through the game. For now, you only have access to the introduction, which ends in 2 intense battles. The first is none other than Cloud Strife, with a redesign that even today I don't know if I like or not, and the sword covered in bandages, an artistic decision that I know I don't like and I want someone to explain it to me. Cloud is different from Squall. He moves very quickly, but only while attacking, so if you've already learned to use your attacks at the same time as the enemy to counter them, it shouldn't be very difficult. This is the last fight where you are allowed to lose. From here on, all fights are to the death. Win or lose, Hades releases Cerberus, who steps on Cloud, forcing Hercules to save him. You can tell that this game was released before the Final Fantasy VII compilation began and Cloud became Square's pretty boy. I can't imagine them now allowing the image of Cloud being stomped on and Hercules carrying his unconscious body. We take over from Hercules and face Cerberus. He is much more mobile than God Armor and Trickmaster, but I would say he's not as dangerous. That being said, both Cerberus and the tournament seem to be designed to offer different levels of challenge depending on when you get here. If this is the first world you visit, it will be very difficult for you. If you've already completed one world, it will be easier. If you have completed both, it will be easy because you'll have Cure, the most overpowered spell in the game. We'll talk about magic later, don't worry. After completing these worlds, it's time to return to Traverse Town to upgrade the gummy ship. There are a couple of errands to complete first. After one of them, we find Riku. It was always very curious to me how sudden the reunion with one of Sora's best friends is. And it's a good scene despite being short and seeming simple. We see that Riku is still just as cocky and Sora just as goofy, but that feeling of inferiority Sora had has disappeared. Riku realizes this when Sora saves him from a Heartless and seems to be none too pleased, as if he preferred the shy and incompetent Sora than the one he now sees before him. Riku leaves annoying Sora, who settles for at least knowing that he is alive. Shortly after, we see that just as Sora teamed up with Disney characters after the destruction of the islands, Riku did the same, but he ended up with Maleficent. It is implied that Riku refused to cooperate with her because he sees that she is obviously evil. I mean, her name is Maleficent, but now, jealous of how much Sora has improved, he agrees to it. Before continuing the journey, you have to explore Traverse Town a bit more to seal the world's keyhole. It's very clever to make you return to the world. Now we have the Blizzard and Thunder spells and the Red Trinity, which allow you to unlock new paths and treasures, teaching the player that this game is a bit Metroidvania. You can not return to any of the worlds you've already visited, but you will never be able to find all the items on your first visits. So you can play as if this were a hack and slash, charging forward no matter how strong the enemies are, relying solely on your skill, or revisiting the worlds you explore, not to farm to level up, but to acquire items and accessories that make Sora more powerful. Many focus on the action of this game and underestimate how strong you can make Sora by focusing on the equipment. One way or another, when you go to seal the keyhole, Guard Armor returns for a rematch. Since now, Donald, Goofy, and you are much stronger, it falls in seconds. But this time, it gets up and transforms into the opposite armor. It walks on its hands, strikes with its feet, and uses its torso as a cannon. It's a good fight, although the battle against the regular Guard Armor is much more iconic because of everything surrounding it. Still, this is proof of how often it's worth fighting an enemy multiple times instead of leaving them as one-at-a-time challenges. It can make encounters much more memorable. With the world safe, this time you can only march to one world instead of having 3 possibilities, making it clear that in some aspect it will be special. The next world is Aladdin. We can now say that the game doesn't mess around. They drop you in the middle of a city infested with new Heartless, bandits that attack in numbers, move non-stop, and can deal high damage. Not only is Agrabah very fun to explore, but it is also much better designed in terms of communicating to the player how to proceed. A pity that this doesn't last long. After a short fight where you witness the most fucking stupid desire in history...
Genie, get rid of these guys!
Wish number 1 coming right up!
We return to the city to save Yasmin from Jafar, but inexplicably there are now barrels blocking the way to some rooms. You can explore the entire city and find nothing because it turns out you have to go to Aladdin's house for a dialogue that has nothing to do with the current problem. And then barrels appear that block your access to the palace gates where now Jafar is. Nonsense! The satisfaction of opening the way finding a keyhole, a normal one, not a metaphysical one, also lasts little. Jafar steals the lamp from Aladdin and the fight against the first boss of the world starts. For some reason, this world has 4 bosses and 3 of them are crap. Pot Centipede is annoying, that's all I gotta say. Jafar heads into the Cave of Wonders to find the keyhole, the metaphysical one, not a regular one, and we chase him, but the head of the Cave of Wonders possessed by darkness blocks our way. It doesn't attack, it just releases enemies. To kill it, you have to climb onto its nose when it buries itself in the sand. When it lifts itself up, you can attack its eyes. I now know that if you make 2 hits and switch lock-on to the other eye for the third, you deal good damage and don't fall, but if you don't know this, the battle will last too long and any attempt to make combos other than the one I just described will make you fall. Winning gives you access to the inside of the cave. Kingdom Hearts doesn't usually have what we call dungeons, which is strange for a game trying to be an action Final Fantasy, but when there is one, I usually enjoy them a lot. The cave is decently spacious, it has enemies but not too many, you can explore it in different ways, and there are treasures hidden everywhere. It ends up being one of my favorite levels in the game. Unfortunately, here we see something that really annoys me. I like that your allies can affect your environment, it's very cool and serves the lesson this game tries to teach about friends being power. However, in Kingdom Hearts 1, you can only have 2 allies in your party and only change them at save points. To use the Trinities, you need Donald and Goofy, so you always take them with you and never use the allies from the worlds. But occasionally, those allies are necessary, like here, where you need Aladdin to send Abu to activate certain switches out of your reach. So if you want to unlock everything, you have to go back and forth to various save points to change your party. It's no surprise that this mechanic didn't return in later games, but at the same time, I miss how your allies could affect the environment. Fixing a mechanic and removing it are not the same thing. Well, just when Jafar finds the keyhole, you burst in and the battle begins. It seems like it'll be cool, a fight against the sorcerer and his invincible enslaved genie, but it turns out that 99% of what Jafar does is turn into a little ball and flee. I hate fights that are just about chasing the enemy and that's it. Jafar does not accept defeat and, just like in the movie, asks the genie to transform him into an all-powerful genie. And like in the movie, this also summons a lamp connected to Jafar, but here it won't be so easy. You'll have to attack Yago to take it from him while Jafar throws meteors and lasers at you. This fight isn't anything special and some people hate it, but I find it original and decent, much better than the other 3 fights in the world. Moreover, few know this, but defeating Jafar upgrades your Blizzard to Blizzara, your first tier 2 spell. If you use it against Genie Jafar, you hurt him, so he's not as invincible as he thinks he is. This is where I see the most that this game doesn't try to imitate Disney movies or tell original stories, both things that later games will do, but rather insert Sora and the Heartless into them, making the same events kinda happen, but changed according to the new context, like here, where it's Sora who traps Jafar in the lamp. Look at how well made this cutscene is, especially the sound design. It's
Okay, Jafar, back to your lamp.
After winning, Sora seals the keyhole, one of the most beautiful to see. But we're left with a bitter taste. Maleficent escapes and we see Riku kidnap Jasmine, his first evil act. At least the first one we witness. We have to escape in a comically simple minigame that was clearly made in a rush, so much so that if you die, there's no game over, the game just cuts to the exit. I find it amusing that the quickest way to complete it is to die. The world has been saved, but we failed to help Aladdin. Ending is surprisingly beautiful, more so than the movie, because here, Genie asks Aladdin to use his last wish to save Jasmine wherever she is, but Aladdin keeps his word and wishes for his freedom. It may seem strange considering how much I've complained, but this world is one of my favorites. I hate the random battles at the beginning and having to go to Aladdin's house for no reason, and I hate most of the boss fights, but I really enjoy exploring and fighting in both Agrabah and the Cave of Wonders. Now we get to choose between 2 worlds. Not really! Monstro, the whale from Pinocchio, will appear and eat your ship. I'm not going to dive into the ultra lore of Kingdom Hearts now, I've never been interested in it. I'm more into paying attention to the characters and their stories, but I want to say that here, space is not just space, it's like a mix between space, the ocean, and traveling between dimensions. Although the latter would make less sense once other realms, digital worlds, alternate timelines, and real fictions are introduced. Wow, I love how weird Kingdom Hearts gets that in the first game, A whale in space now is normal. Monstro is another infamous level, but for once the fault is not with the designers, but the players. Many remember this level as another terribly designed stage, but it's surprisingly straightforward. The problem is that we were kids. When I played at 4 years old, I also got lost. It's not a maze, there's only 6 rooms. Yes, each hole takes you to another hole in any other room, but the holes that shine green always make you progress, and in fact, going in a straight line takes you to the end. As kids, we got lost because we were dumb. I also appreciate it more now because you can use the barrels as improvised platforms to get all the chests now, or wait until you have the high jump ability to make it easier. Hey, by the way, why are we wandering around inside a whale's intestines? It turns out that Riku, for some reason, wants to kidnap Pinocchio as well. In Olympus Coliseum we had a character from Final Fantasy. Maleficent appeared both there and in Agrabah, and now Riku, an original character from Kingdom Hearts, is an important character in Monstro, completely solidifying all the possibilities of the crossover. Riku was already a cocky guy, but now he's trying to cause harm, mocking Sora and accusing him of things he's not guilty of, like forgetting about Kairi and having fun in the worlds when he's literally saving them from extinction. Still, they're both capable of working together. When Pinocchio is captured by the world's boss, Parasite Cage, you cooperate with Riku to save him. But Riku takes Pinocchio again, revealing that his extraordinary nature as a puppet with a heart, something that should be impossible, could be used to save someone who has lost their heart. Sora quickly deduces that Riku would only do this if it's Kairi who needs help. But even so, Sora rushes to save Pinocchio. This small moment is much more important and heroic than it might seem. It could be said that we've already seen him behaving like a hero. He tries to help Alice, saves the gorillas, helps Hercules against Cerberus, tries to rescue Jasmine, but this time he decides to save Pinocchio even though his sacrifice might help Kairi. He's not going to sacrifice someone to get a loved one back. An admirable decision that marks Sora as one of the kindest characters in the saga, as we will later see similar dilemmas, and Sora is the only one who always rejects the idea of sacrificing another, even for a greater good. The rematch against Parasite Cage is much better than the first fight. Now in a very enclosed space, trying to distance yourself or falling off the platforms will drop you into gastric juices that damage Sora. The cage now has a new bad breath attack that poisons, so the best strategy is to go for its face and counter its attacks with yours. If you didn't learn to clash attacks with Cloud, you better learn now. You save Pinocchio and the fight annoys Monstro so much that he spits you all out, but Sora feels sad about his friend's behavior. This victory unlocks Stop, the last spell in the game. I didn't say it because I was waiting for this. With Stop, Sora and Donald now have access to all the magic in the game: Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, Cure, Gravity, Stop, and Arrow. Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder are your damage spells. Fire is a machine gun, you can shoot it many times and it will be your best ranged tool. Blizzard is a shotgun. You shoot several ice spells that can hit multiple opponents. Thunder would be a grenade, I suppose. It costs more magic than Fire and Blizzard, but it does more damage and can't miss. Gravity also deals damage, but it's percentage based, like in Final Fantasy. Against some enemies, it can be very effective, but it also has the secondary use of crushing enemies to the ground, which is very useful against flying enemies as it brings them down. The power of all these spells depends on Sora's maximum MP. In this game, there's no magic stat. Spells are more effective the higher your magic points are, so if you want to use magic, you'll need to equip good accessories, you can't just spam aimlessly. If you have, let's say, 5 MP, then Stop lasts just over 1 second, which is practically useless. But if you equip a magic keyblade and several accessories, you can reach 9 MP, and Stop will last almost 4 seconds, allowing you to smash any enemy and several bosses. Stop doesn't return in almost any following game, and when it does, it doesn't affect bosses. It's clear they weren't aware of how strong it could be. Arrow is your only defensive spell. At its first level, it doubles your defense. At level 2, it also damages nearby enemies, and at level 3, it automatically reflects projectiles. It's also incredibly strong and doesn't return in subsequent games. And finally, the most important one, Cure. It's the best because for Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, Gravity, and stuff to be effective, you need a lot of MP, so you have to sacrifice your strength. Arrow is effective without much MP, but since you spend 2 MP each time you cast it, you can run out quickly without a magic build. But Cure only costs 1 MP and restores a large amount of health even if you have low maximum MP. So 99% of the people who play Kingdom Hearts equip the Keyblades and accessories that increase their strength the most and only use magic to heal themselves. A simple but effective strategy. The problem is that this also means many never discover how fun and powerful magic can be until they watch some video on YouTube and say, "Wow, I never used magic in this game, lol XD." Well, let's leave this slight tangent and get back to the adventure. Which world is next? Oh, the best one! That 99% of people who play Kingdom Hearts that I just mentioned also agree that the Nightmare Before Christmas world is the best Disney world in the game. As soon as you land, you can already imagine why. The aesthetic is incredibly well done, new outfits have been given to Sora, Donald and Goofy to match it, and the music is even better than what we're used to, both the arrangement of This Is Halloween and the original battle theme. The story is practically non-existent. Dr. Finkelstein tries to build a heart and asks Sora to help him with his Keyblade. This only makes the Heartless go crazy, and Oogie Boogie steals the heart with the intention of eating it, to gain more power, I suppose. The motivations of Disney villains usually boil down to, "I like being bad," and not much else. Exploration starts off simple until you reach Oogie's Manor, one of the largest rooms in the game. It's a tense, vertical advance where it's very easy to fall and lose all your progress. The enemies seem designed precisely to knock you down, with the White Knights jumping non-stop and the gargoyles flying out of your reach. This is one of those moments where refusing to use magic can really mess you up. The reward for reaching the top is being able to beat the shit out of the little kids that helped Oogie, which makes Kingdom Hearts 1 one of the very few games where you can attack small children. Don't forget to pull the lever, or when you go down to fight Oogie Boogie, the door is closed and you have to climb all the way back up again! We reach Oogie to discover that the first phase is super fun. Oogie traps you in some sort of roulette where he activates various traps and dangers. You have to hit the dice he throws at you and activate switches to climb up and be able to attack him. When you win, he seems to die like in the movie, but the guy goes and uses the darkness to merge with his house, starting the second phase. I really like that at the beginning of the game, the bosses have one face, but now that we're fighting important Disney villains, they have two faces, one normal and another gigantic and intimidating. In this case, it's a platforming challenge where you have to find and destroy several dark wards while he throws Heartless and fireballs at you. I suppose now it's a good time to mention that many remember Kingdom Hearts 1 as a game with terrible platforming. The truth is, I've never felt that, not even as a kid. I only felt uncomfortable when you have to jump to very small platforms that Sora can't grab onto, like the mushrooms in Wonderland or some trees in Deep Jungle. And once you get the high jump power up, which allows Sora to double his jump height, platforming becomes even easier. I think that complaint comes from the fact that in the original PlayStation 2 version, you didn't move the camera with the right stick, but with L2 and R2 for some incomprehensible reason, which made non-combat gameplay much more uncomfortable. Moreover, as kids, playing on easy made the fights easier for you, but that doesn't affect the platforming, and if you fail and had to go through a loading screen to get back to where you were, it was a PlayStation 2, and it took longer than the nothing we're now used to, but the platforming itself is fine. Not like Devil May Cry 1, for example. That game does have terrible platforming. And to wrap it up, everything ends with the most epic keyhole in the entire game, which turned out to be trapped under the now destroyed Oogie Manor, and Sora resorts to shooting the moon to reflect the light and seal it. It's cinema. In general, I agree. This world is the best Disney level in the game. It's funny, all the worlds do something in particular better than Halloween Town. But Halloween Town gives you a very enjoyable experience in all aspects. The aesthetics are 10 out of 10, the enemies are cool, the exploration is really good, it has a dungeon that is both fun and challenging, and a good boss. The only weak point would be the story, but even here it plays with the idea that Sora is learning to be a mature person. He still doesn't think about his actions and their possible consequences. Underestimating the Keyblade's power and helping Finkelstein open the heart leads to the only world that wasn't being attacked by the Heartless also ending up in danger. Who wants to go from the best world to the worst world? Atlantica is infamous among Kingdom Hearts 1 fans, considered by practically everyone as the worst world in the game. Some say it's not that bad, but it is the worst. Others say it's the second worst thing Square has ever done in its entire history. I would be in the first camp. The conversation about this world is somewhat exaggerated, partially because of all the memes that have been made over time. I mean, shit, when I learned how to use a green screen, the first thing I did was this.
I hate this place. This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer.
There are two main reasons why this world is so hated. The first is the level design, not because it's bad, in fact it's quite fun to explore this 3D environment swimming freely instead of platforming, but because, once again, the game doesn't explain to the player how to proceed. At first it's cool because they place tridents pointing the way to the palace, but when you arrive, the mission changes to figure it out yourself, kid! You don't know that your objective is the sunken ship, and even if the player realizes they need to interact with the dolphin to reach their goal, how the hell is the player supposed to know that interacting with it in the first room, even though it seems to do nothing, makes the dolphin spawn in the second room, where interacting with it leads you to your objective? Fuck, no wonder everyone hates this world. They don't figure this out, so they keep swimming around finding the way forward while they go insane from hearing Under the Sea non-stop. The second reason is the combat. Kingdom Hearts 1 is surprisingly fluid and skillful despite being one of the first action games, but underwater, your movements are much slower. You can't block, jump, roll, use abilities, limits, or summons. The combat is reduced to its minimum, and it's crap. I think the intent was for you to make a magic build for this world. I suspect mainly because this is the only world where there are chests you have to open with fire, blizzard, and thunder, and you have to use magic against the first boss, but forcing the player to fight a certain way because you screw over most of the system is a questionable decision. It's a shame. Having an entire world that is explored in a completely unique manner is awesome, and the story isn't bad at all. Ariel's teenage drama is repeated from the film, but instead of wanting to get it on with a boy, it's because she wants to see the outside world. You understand both her and her father more, that the girl shouldn't be thinking about leaving when there are Heartless everywhere. Ariel ends up betraying her father, an act she soon regrets. This character arc is identical to Riku's in this game. Riku's desire to go to the outside world led him to betray his loved ones and the destruction of his world. The only reason Ariel doesn't cause the destruction of Atlantica is because this time, Sora is prepared. Speaking of Sora, the world also takes the opportunity to criticize him a little, although unlike in Halloween Town, he doesn't do anything wrong. Triton warns him that he shouldn't be so calm when wielding a weapon capable of saving and extinguishing worlds. He should be taking this power and responsibility much more seriously. Have you enjoyed the good part? Good, because it's over. The final boss of this world is pure suffering. Phase 1 is literally just spam magic to Ursula's cauldron, and that's it. Phase 2 is like fighting Storm from the X-Men because Ursula isn't dangerous, but there are constant lightning strikes. If you don't have enough defense or MP to spam Cure and Arrow, it will be one of the most frustrating fights in the game. Since the only reward for winning is a bit of experience, an upgrade for Thunder, and a Keyblade probably worse than the one you already have, I recommend leaving this world and return much later when you'll be strong enough to win without any problems. Who wants to go from the worst world to the second worst world? I haven't mentioned it, but on the second visit to Traverse Town you unlock the minigame world, the 100-acre wood forest from Winnie the Pooh. Like Atlantica, this level is also infamous, and this time I fully agree. The story is practically non-existent. It usually involves Sora standing there quietly while things happen. However, there is one exception. The moment when Winnie the Pooh suggests that since all his friends have disappeared, it means he's going to disappear too, he's thinking about how to say goodbye to himself. Look at Sora's face.
I wonder, how do I say goodbye to myself? Think.
It kills me. Sometimes this game is fucking hilarious. But the real reason why this world is so hated is because the minigames are terrible. If that weren't the case, there would be few complaints. Climbing the tree while hitting bees is crap. Playing tag with the book characters is crap. Bouncing with Tiger could be worse, but it's too simple. And pushing Pooh off the swing is crap because you have to launch him a specific distance. If you fall short, you're fucked. If you overshoot, you're fucked. Look how much fun I had playing live. No! A shame, because one of the minigames is really good, because instead of just being a minigame, it's a couple of mini platforming challenges, and completing them lets you explore a cool area. You can activate switches, find timed platforms, and climb trees to find fruits that you can exchange for useful items. And hey, you'll want to do all of this, because the rewards they give you are good. A summon, a stop upgrade, and an accessory that increases your experience by 15%. I think the sooner you do it, the better. In fact, I included this world here because if you're smart, you can get all the torn pages, the items needed to unlock the minigames, after completing Agrabah. Since you can leave the worlds without completing them, there's one page in Agrabah, you complete that world. Another in Monstro, you leave. Another at the beginning of Halloween Town, you leave. Another at the beginning of Atlantica, you leave. And a final one for rescuing several Dalmatians. Now, you heard me right, the 99 puppies of Pongo and Perdita from 101 Dalmatians are scattered across the worlds, and the dogs give you rewards the more of their children you rescue. I would laugh at the absurdity of this, but the first time you see them, sad because their children have disappeared, it hurts. Rarely has a game given me the motivation to find all the collectibles. Well, now that we are strong and well equipped, let's go to the last world of this batch. Well, technically the last world comes to us, it's Captain Hook's ship from Peter Pan. We get a double whammy. It turns out that Riku is using the ship to move between worlds, just like we use the gummy ship. Kairi is also here, but like it was implied in Monstro, she has lost her heart. Our friend is now an empty body, apparently in a coma, and Riku, who had already started using the darkness, is now fully abusing it. He brings Sora's shadow to life and drops us into the hold. It's a nice touch that this happens precisely in Peter Pan's world, by the way. It's one of those things you forget, but it shows that they put effort into every inch of this game. Inside the ship, Sora, Donald, Goofy, Peter Pan, and Tinkerbell meet and join their forces. The scenes between them make me laugh because of the lack of friendship among the characters. The other party members, Tarzan, Aladdin, Jack Skellington, and Ariel, were nice. They quickly became friends with Sora. But since Peter Pan is an annoying child and Tinkerbell gets angry faster than an American when they see public healthcare, their alliance leads to both comedic and tense situations. Still, I like the lesson. You don't need to get along with everyone right away to cooperate. This world is not so much a world in itself, but rather a transitional stage between the Disney worlds and the more intense final worlds. Even so, it hides a couple of chests quite well, and it has one of the most underrated songs in the entire saga, so I enjoy it. Sora's shadow seems harmless, it just mocks you while you explore, but when you reach Riku, it gets in between you and him, starting the first boss fight of the world. I think the idea was for it to be a fight that's somewhat scary, because the shadow merges into the ground and suddenly emerges to stab you on the back. Then it creates two clones, and if you take too long to find the real one, it teleports and stabs you on the back. But then you see it walk, and since it uses the same animation as Sora, who walks as if he has no worries in the world, it doesn't really seem scary. Like in the previous worlds, the first phase was just a warm-up. In the second phase, you fight Captain Hook. It's a strange battle because right here you unlock the power to fly, although only in this world. In the other, Sora can only glide, but trying to fight while flying only makes things harder. You should be fighting from the ground, a strange decision, but well, aside from this, Captain Hook is one of the best duels in the game. He can block, parry, and perform super attacks, and he's also somewhat comical. Your attacks will send him flying sagitally, a very good fight. And after this, the game gives you its best denouement. In Kingdom Hearts 1, and only in Kingdom Hearts 1, when you complete a world, you don't get kicked out. Instead, you're allowed to explore the entire or part of the world peacefully, without Heartless. Here they let you fly around the Big Ben while a great unique music plays. I think this is the greatest example of the variety of music that Kingdom Hearts has at all times. Not only does each world have its own exploration theme and its own battle theme, but this room that you only visit once has its own song. Thanks to Kingdom Hearts, I get angry when another game reuses the same song over and over again. And now that we are technically finishing our journey, do you remember what I said at the beginning? This is where the game really begins. We can now travel to the Disney worlds where we have also unlocked party members, trinity marks, magic, and abilities. The only true mechanics you don't unlock there are summons and limits. Like magic and abilities, you obtain them as you progress, some mandatory and others optional. At this point you will always be able to summon Simba and Genie, and if you explored and did minigames, also Dumbo and Bambi. If you completed Olympus Coliseum on one of its tournaments, you'll have two limits, Sonic Blade and Strike Raid. I mention this now because precisely now, upon finishing Neverland, you simultaneously obtain the best summon and the best limit in the game. The same thing happens to summons as to magic, but even more exaggerated. Some are very powerful, but since they are situational and depend on Sora's maximum MP, which in turn depends on exploring and equipping Sora well, most players use them once, if at all, just to see them and never again. Simba is useful for eradicating groups of enemies, but since it takes a lot of time to charge, it's practically useless, with one exception. Genie spams projectiles, thunder, stop, and gravity. It's not bad, but most of the time it's better to do the casting yourself. Dumbo shoots a stream of water. That's it. It's the weakest of the summons, but it makes you completely invincible, so it's not bad if you want a moment to rest. And since it flies, it slightly lifts Sora, allowing you to do some cool speedrunning skips. Bambi is the most underrated of all the summons. He jumps around throwing MP bubbles, so it's like having infinite magic for a short time. With a magical build, Bambi is the strongest summon in the game. And Mushu, who you can obtain shortly after, basically lets you do a continuous fire spell for a long time. He's not very useful either, disappointing for being the last summon. And just as Cure is the best magic in the game, Tinkerbell, who joins you here, is the best summon in the game because not only does she give you regen and auto life, but she is also the only summon that has no time limit. Yes, for just a few MP, you can regenerate your health and revive once per battle. It's completely broken. But even aside from the fact that half of the summons are not noteworthy and or require a magical build, they have two problems. The first is that while you use them, you can't perform limits, which is annoying. The second is that you need to fight alongside your allies in a normal battle to use them, so you can't use them in tournaments or if you fight alone. You might say, but I've been playing for 20 hours and I've never been alone. However, many of the endgame battles and secret bosses force you to fight on your own, so you lose an entire mechanic. I hate that, and I don't understand why they repeated the same mistake in Kingdom Hearts 2. As for the limits, I think the average person doesn't use them much either. They spend 2 or 3 MP, and in most cases it's more useful, you guessed it, to cast Cure, so they just sit there. Sonic Blade is the first one you get. It's not bad, but it's somewhat erratic and doesn't do much damage. Strike Raid is better. The damage isn't incredible, but you are completely invincible while doing it, so it ends up being very useful in some dangerous fights to come. Ars Arcanum, which you learn after defeating Hook, spends 3 MP to perform a powerful combo. It doesn't seem like much, but it's the highest DPS in the game. If you have the MP and the confidence that you'll win before running out of magic, it's your best tool. Later, you'll get Ragnarok, and despite its name, it's very disappointing. It's uncomfortable to use, requires your enemy to be slightly above you, takes its time and you're not invincible so you'll probably get interrupted, and even if you fire it, it does less damage than Ars Arcanum. It's a shame that this game has so many mechanics, but the smartest thing 99% of the time is to attack and use your magic only to heal. Let me tell you something, that's another thing, both summons and limits consume MP. Probably precisely for that reason, no one used them until they learned to play and realize in which situations they are useful. There should be a third bar that uses these resources, that would make the combat much better. We have finished the Disney worlds. I know this because I've played the game 100 times, but anyone playing for the first time will start to sense that something is about to happen during the scene where Sora, Donald and Goofy prepare to travel to the next world. Sora is sad, Kairi is in a coma, and Riku is an asshole. His initial mission to reunite with his friends is turning out to be even more difficult than he thought. Sora is surprised that Donald and Goofy remain cheerful despite having no clue about King Mickey and asks how can they be so happy. Donald and Goofy respond that Mickey told them to find and follow the key. That's what they're doing, so everything will be fine. People often forget this scene, but it's a small beautiful moment that contrasts greatly with how the friendship of these three was at the beginning. So we head towards the final act of the game in the same way we started the first act, departing from Traverse Town after a nice scene with Donald and Goofy. The arrival at Hollow Bastion is very exciting. We've been hours and hours visiting Disney movies. Before that, the original worlds, Destiny Islands and Traverse Town, were quiet places. But now, suddenly they hit you with Hollow Bastion, a castle that combines steam technology, futuristic technology, magic, and impossible nature. The first thing you see is a reverse waterfall. Do you remember when video games used to have cool settings? And I'm not just talking about the visuals. This world is incredibly fun to explore. And even all of that would be nothing without Hollow Bastion's themes. Shortly after arriving, the real fun begins, and by fun I don't mean the level, I mean the game. Do me a favor, move the mouse or tap the screen and see how much video is left. Quite a bit, right? Didn't I say that this is the final act already? Well, it turns out that everything we've seen so far was just the warm-up. The Disney adventures are over, the real conflict starts now. Welcome to Kingdom Hearts. We encounter Riku, who easily defeats Beast, who has come to rescue Belle. All the princesses of Heart and Kairi are at the top of the castle. Riku has been talking to Maleficent and has discovered that he is a true chosen wielder of the Keyblade. With minimal effort, he calls it and it disappears from Sora's hands. This may seem like a twist out of nowhere, but there have been clues. The most obvious one is that Squall demonstrates that the Keyblade has a will of its own when he picks it up and it immediately returns to Sora. But when Sora and Riku reunite, he steals the Keyblade and it doesn't return to Sora. Riku has to give it back to him. It's implied that Riku summoned it that night in the islands, but Sora accidentally grabbed it, and upon being separated, it chose to remain with him, accepting him as temporary wielder. I wouldn't have minded a flashback to see this clearly. This is a huge boost to Riku's ego. He was desperate that Sora was becoming stronger and more important than him, and he mocks his friend by giving him the wooden sword they used to play with on Destiny Islands before leaving. That nice scene earlier with Donald and Goofy turns tragic. Their mission is to follow the key. They must abandon Sora and go with Riku. Both of them are hurt to have to do it, but they do it. I love that they weren't afraid to let Disney characters do things outside the norm. Nowadays, Disney has this image of being overly protective with its characters, but here they allow Donald Duck and Goofy to betray and abandon the main character of the story, which you definitely don't expect because they are two major Disney mascots. If you also watch movies and shows with these two, it hurts 3 times more. Your childhood heroes are abandoning you. But Sora is no longer the kid we saw at the beginning of the game. Level by level, world by world, he has learned to be a hero. When Beast, badly injured, stands up, Sora reacts and helps him. Beast talks about how he won't give up because Belle needs him. Sora clearly remembers Kairi and arms himself with his little wooden sword. Since this moment comes right after the loss of the Keyblade and Donald and Goofy's betrayal, few talk about it, but to me, it's as important, if not more. Despite how unique Kingdom Hearts is, the final challenge couldn't be more classic. A hero must overcome a castle to save a princess. But instead of a Prince Charming, he's an ordinary teenager. And instead of a legendary magical blade, he wields a wooden sword. And despite these differences, it's equally epic, because what truly matters can be found both in the prince and in Sora. The courage and determination born from love.
Hey, don't move! You're hurt.
Why did you come here? I came to fight for her. And though I am on my own, I will fight. I won't leave without her. That's why I'm here.
Me too. I'm not gonna give up now. I came here to find someone very important to me.
The segment coming up now is one of my favorites in the history of video games, and it's the first example I always give when I try to explain why I consider video games the best medium for storytelling. What makes video games unique is the bond they forge between player and character. Many video games don't know how to utilize this connection, but a few do it brilliantly, like Kingdom Hearts 1. Sora is the one who decides not to give up and continue practically unarmed, but it is the player who must act and overcome adversity. There isn't a scene where Sora discovers he can still use magic and some of his abilities without the Keyblade. That's something the player must find out to face the Heartless. Just as Sora has gone from a child to a hero through his journeys, the player has gone from inexperienced to skilled, having learned to explore, use magic, and battle alongside allies through hours of gameplay. You explore Hollow Bastion. Instead of attacking or using basic spells, you cast Cure and Gravity. Perhaps instead of casting Arrow or spending Ethers on yourself, you use them on Beast, who has powerful savage attacks. You have to play differently, using support magic like Donald and blocking and distracting like Goofy, while Beast is the DPS, like he used to be. So you overcome the odds, change your playstyle, and explore Hollow Bastion's underground to open the large entrance door. This obstacle feels like a taunt. If you had your Keyblade, you could advance without any problems, but now you have to manage like everyone else. When you open it, Beast is tricked by a Heartless and gets trapped on the other side. Sora is left alone, and Riku appears to confront him. If you've already played this game, you know exactly what happens in this scene. It's probably the third most famous moment in the game and the core of Sora's philosophy. Sora has behaved like a normal kid throughout the game, but it doesn't seem strange when he now delivers an anime-style speech. His speech that ends with the famous phrase, "My friends are my power," works because you just experienced it. Even separated from Donald and Goofy, thanks to them, Squall, Tarzan, Hercules, Cloud, Aladdin, Jack, Ariel, Peter Pan, and Beast, Sora has become much more powerful than he would have ever been alone. You have experienced it yourself. The Sora from the Destiny Islands wouldn't have survived Hollow Bastion. What has changed between the two of them? Both are kind and brave, yes, important qualities, but only one has determination, wisdom, and experience. It's not that the more of you there are, the better, well, that too, but it's that literally the many make the one strong if you let them.
How will you fight without a weapon?
I know now I don't need the Keyblade. I've got a better weapon. My heart!
Your heart? What good will that weak little thing do for you?
Although my heart may be weak, it's not alone. It's grown with each new experience, and it's found a home with all the friends I've made. I've become part of their heart just as they've become a part of mine. And if they think of me now and then, if they don't forget me, then our hearts will be one. I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
And so, something happens that has only happened once in the entire franchise. The Keyblade changes its allegiance. It decides that the selfish Riku is not worthy of being the chosen one, and it returns to Sora's hands. The battle begins and Riku can't do anything. He only has 4 attacks, 2 of which he already used on the islands, and another is a jump that causes lightning. It seems to be such a complex technique that he can only do it a handful of times, though for you it is practically harmless. This is the final point of the argument. How many techniques has Sora learned? All of them have allowed him to get this far even without the Keyblade, but when you take the key away from Riku, he is useless. The only thing he can do is try to get you off him, lashing out like a cornered animal. Riku is defeated and flees. Now that we have recovered our friends and our key, the castle's true ascent begins. After this important sequence of events, the game lets you relax by giving you a segment without any enemies. You just need to find and use 4 emblems to unlock the path forward. It's not a big deal, but it's cool to use your head every now and then. It's a shame that the next Kingdom Hearts games barely have any of this. When you place the 4 emblems, you see Riku talking to the mysterious figure from the beginning of the game. The way they talk, it seemed like they have been communicating all this time. While Sora was suspicious and confronted this entity, Riku listens to it, which makes the scene disturbing. Now it's time to conquer Hollow Bastion. It's the best level not just of the game, but of the entire saga. The new Heartless, the Defenders, Sorcerers and Wyverns are strong and intimidating, and the exploration is excellently done. You really feel like the Disney worlds have prepared you for this. In this world, there are chests that weren't discovered until years after the game's release. No? The sentence, "you can freeze the bubbles," is infamous among fans because whenever someone starts playing on YouTube or Twitch and casts Blizzard at a bubble to turn it into a platform, someone who has been playing for years mentions how they had no freaking idea that this could be done. That's the level of interactivity Hollow Bastion reaches. And I have no proof but no doubts either that the developers intentionally made Donald and Goofy strong right here and now. At this point, Donald has access to all Tier 2 spells, and if you find the Royal Crown, you can give him 2 more MP, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. And at level 42, Goofy learns MP Gift, which allows him to give his MP to his allies. So you're fighting, and if your health drops, Donald will heal you. If Donald has low MP, Goofy will give him some, creating a self-sustaining battery of health and magic that makes this trio practically invincible. By the way, it's when Donald and Goofy protect Sora despite him not being the Keyblade's chosen one that the true friendship of these 3 is forged, symbolized by them learning the last Trinity mark. There's one of these per world, and when it's used, the 3 join their weapons in a manner similar to the 3 Musketeers, which connects with the fact that when they meet, they say the Musketeers phrase, "All for one and one for all." Everything is incredibly well tied together. When you reach the top, you see that Riku has changed. He behaves in a completely different manner, and when he speaks, 2 voices can be heard, his and another's. He shows Maleficent a second Keyblade, a dark one forged from the hearts of the princesses, all of them except Kairi's, whose heart remains missing. Have I explained the princesses thing at any point? I don't think so. Look, when you have a story in your head already, sometimes you forget the details. I don't remember when Maleficent's plan is explained. I think they give it to you bit by bit. There's light and darkness in all hearts. It's natural, but throughout the universe, there are 7 girls with hearts of pure light. If you gather these 7 girls, you can unlock the final keyhole and open the path to everlasting darkness. There you go. How long did that take me? 15 seconds? And some say that Kingdom Hearts is hard to understand. We arrive at the room we've been seeing since the beginning of the game, and finally, the battle against the leader of the Disney villains, Maleficent, begins. The first phase is pretty good. They clearly knew how to make a fight against a sorcerer, so I don't understand why the fight against Jafar was so bad. Maleficent makes a platform float to rise out of your reach and bombards you with lightning, meteors, and monsters. You have to use gravity to knock down her platform and beat her up. The battle will end relatively soon. Sora has reached such power that even this great villain can't do anything. But, as it happened with the last villains, there's 2 phases. Riku shows up and uses his key to unleash Maleficent's darkness, transforming her into her dragon form. This is the best and hardest fight against a Disney character in the entire saga. Dragon Maleficent will use her fangs, claws, and tails to attack you. Then she will breathe fire, and when she has little life left, she will start setting the ground on fire to limit your movement and combine her new form with her magical knowledge, telekinetically controlling fireballs and throwing them at you one by one. Her only vulnerable part is her head, which she will be constantly moving. It is a long and intense battle, extremely enjoyable. There are several ways to turn the fight against her, such as using Genie, whose attacks cannot miss, or creating a magical build and spamming stop so she can't dodge you. However, and I'm sorry to cut the good vibes, this is where I have to criticize something. If you play Kingdom Hearts today on your PlayStation 3, 4 or 5, Xbox, Switch or PC, you are not playing Kingdom Hearts. You are playing Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, an enhanced version that originally came out only in Japan. Before the remixes we couldn't play Final Mix, so they were a true gift for Western fans. But unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts 1 is the only game you could argue that its normal version is better than Final Mix. Don't get me wrong, it improves many things. For example, certain abilities are called combo modifiers because they change Sora's attacks. All of these are combo modifiers. Well, the ones in yellow were added in Final Mix. In the original version you only had Vortex, Helicopter and Blitz, and none of them were particularly fun or good. But Final Mix also added these abilities. Pay attention to Leaf Bracer. In Kingdom Hearts 1, the ability Second Chance already existed, which allows Sora to survive a fatal attack with 1 point of health. A powerful and extremely useful ability, but not broken. However, if you combine it with Leaf Bracer, which makes Sora invulnerable while casting Cure, you break the game. No matter how dangerous an enemy is or any of their attacks, you take it, you always survive because you have Second Chance, you heal even if the attack is continuing with Leaf Bracer, and you live. As long as you have MP, you are immortal, and in this game it's very difficult to run out of MP. Other Kingdom Hearts games use different methods to prevent the player from healing constantly because they messed up quite a bit here. I'm mentioning this now because if you choose the staff, you won't have Second Chance until very late in the game. If you chose the sword, you won't have Leaf Bracer until very late as well. But if you chose the shield, you'll already have both abilities, and the game goes from being challenging to easy. And it's a real shame because Dragon Maleficent and especially the next boss were famous for their difficulty, which you will hardly feel if you already have this overpowered combo. It doesn't help that when someone starts playing and asks, "What should I choose?" everyone shouts, "The shield!" because they know that with it, you're practically invincible from level 36 forwards. But well, you defeat Maleficent. You've overcome the greatest Disney obstacle, so the only threat left is Riku. You rise to the final peak of Hollow Bastion, which hides this strange giant keyhole, and you see the most famous scene in the game that everyone knows by heart. If you don't believe me, watch me playing live. Kairi! 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 Open your eyes! It's no use. That girl has lost her heart. She cannot wake up. What? You're not Riku? And we cannot be complete, so long as the last princess of hearts still sleeps. A princess? Kairi's a princess? Yes, and without her power, the keyhole will remain incomplete. It is time she awakened. Who you are? Let Riku go! Give him back his heart! But first, you must give the princess back her heart. Sora! What? Don't you see yet? The princess's heart is responding. It's been there all along. Kairi's heart rests within you. Kairi? Kairi's inside me? I know all that there is to know. Tell me, who are you? It is I, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. Donald, no sirves para nada! So, I shall release you now, princess. Complete the keyhole with your power. Open the door! Lead me into everlasting darkness! Sora! Forget it! There's no way you're taking Kairi's heart! This particular scene is known by heart by many because Riku-Ansem, as Riku possessed by Ansem is called, was one of the hardest bosses in the game, and if he killed you in the original PlayStation 2 version, you couldn't skip cutscenes. You had to watch it over and over until you memorized it. But a lot has happened here, so step by step. First, Kairi's heart was inside Sora all along. There are several clues throughout the game that I haven't shown, the biggest being that when Sora thinks of Kairi, he sees hallucinations of her. It turns out this was her heart manifesting from within Sora. When Sora was sad before reaching Hollow Bastion, Kairi shared with him a childhood memory, a story her grandmother used to read to her, about how once upon a time the worlds fell into darkness, but the children were saved thanks to their powerful light, the moral being that no matter how deep the darkness is, there will always be a light that never goes out. Second, this is not Riku, but Ansem. Ansem is mentioned once throughout the entire game. Aerith tells Donald and Goofy that Ansem was a scientist who studied the Heartless. Since Ansem lived in Hollow Bastion, people assumed he was killed by Maleficent when she took over. You can find several of his reports while playing. No one reads them, so no one remembers Ansem when they get here. These reports expand the lore of the universe and talk about how Ansem researched the Heartless and the keyholes. But the reality is that Ansem was an asshole who became fascinated by the nature of darkness, determined that it is the origin and primary force of everything, and chose to turn himself into a Heartless, which allowed him to retain some of his will. Don't forget, a Heartless is a heart that has been consumed by the darkness within. It has no body. At some point, Ansem met Riku, and he manipulated him until he tricked Riku into opening his body, allowing Ansem to possess him. This is already disturbing when you're a kid, but when you grow up and realize that Riku's story is about an adult promising things to a teenager while deceiving him to do things to his body, holy shit! Kairi's voice inspires Sora to fight. The fate of the universe is at stake, but Sora is fighting to save his friends. If he loses, Riku will forever remain under Ansem's control, and Kairi will never awaken, her heart used as a tool by this horrible villain. The most memorable battle of the game begins. It is divided into 3 phases. At the beginning, Riku-Ansem fights in a similar manner to Riku on Destiny Islands. The game seems to want to force you to fight in a similar way as well. You can't use summons, and any offensive magic makes Riku-Ansem absorb it and return it to you. But a lot has happened since the islands. It doesn't take long to move on to the second phase. Riku-Ansem powers up. Now his attacks have powerful dark shockwaves, making it much more difficult to dodge or block them. But it's fine. Eventually his power fades and he returns to his normal state. Then you reach the third phase. Riku-Ansem charges to the maximum and unleashes his most powerful attack, Dark Aura. He teleports and attacks with super fast thrusts before striking the center of the area, summoning lightning all over. After using this move for the first time, Riku will always be in his enhanced state and will keep repeating this incredibly powerful attack over and over until he kills you. I think you can see why, if you don't have the second chance and leave bracer combo, this fight is very difficult. But even if you have that combo, it's super fun and memorable. Sora emerges victorious. Riku-Ansem fades away, leaving his key behind. Sora tries to seal the final keyhole, but it doesn't work because one of the princess's heart is not in her body. So Sora takes the dark keyblade and stabs himself. I would like to make some jokes about how in this Disney game, you see someone getting off the bus early, but I can't. It's a very beautiful moment. Just watch it. Kairi wakes up, but apart from that, things are going from bad to worse. Ansem appears, this time in his original body. He literally looks like a Final Fantasy villain. They really copied Sephiroth, especially with the hair. But since Ansem obtained this body by possessing Riku, he still has some influence over Ansem, and he paralyzes him so that Kairi, Donald, and Goofy can escape. We must not forget that despite how much of a jerk Riku has been, his misdeeds were motivated by wanting to leave his world, save Kairi, or the need to feel superior to Sora. Acquiring ultimate power and perhaps the extinction of the universe, what Maleficent wanted and what Ansem wants, do not fit into his plans. When these three flee, one of the Heartless watches them and decides to follow. Without warning, you start controlling it. I love that no one needs to be told anything to understand that this Heartless is Sora. Of course, everyone has darkness within them. Sora is no exception. Upon dying, he also becomes a Heartless. Do you remember I said that Ansem retains his will despite being a Heartless because he transformed voluntarily? This is explained in an Ansem report to come. Sora has done the same, so what remains of him leads him to reunite with his friends. Kairi quickly identifies him and protects him from other Heartless. Unconsciously, she uses her powers as a Princess of Heart and restores Sora. It may seem that this was very quick and easy, but if you played Kingdom Hearts 2, you know that Sora's transformation into a Heartless will have many consequences. The group retreats to Traverse Town to leave Kairi in a safe place and explain to the Final Fantasy characters everything that has happened. Sora determines that he has to seal Hollow Bastion's keyhole and save Riku. The insecurity and shyness of the boy we met on the islands is nowhere to be seen. We also don't see them in Sora and Kairi's farewell. Before, he didn't dare to be honest with Kairi, but now he has no problem, even telling her directly that she can't go with him to save Riku because she would be a hindrance. They share a beautiful moment where Sora talks about the experience of being a Heartless, of being one with the darkness, but even then he could feel a light, which was clearly Kairi calling him. "My friends are my power" is the motto of the saga, but this game also has its own. There's always a light that never goes out. Kairi gives Sora her lucky charm and makes him promise to return it, thus making Sora vow that they will meet again. This makes Sora unlock a new Keyblade, not one based on Disney or Final Fantasy as you've been obtaining throughout the game, a unique one that symbolizes the connection between Sora and Kairi. Oathkeeper. A small interruption, Kingdom Hearts is a game absolutely full of details. Even though I said you get a Keyblade, we say that for simplification. Sora doesn't get Keyblades, he only has the Keyblade. But you can change the keychain. And if you put something that symbolizes something or someone important to the bearer as a keychain, the Keyblade's shape and powers change. This justifies why you get more, in quote, Keyblades during the game. It's not that Sora gets the Oathkeeper. It's that now Sora can use the Lucky Charm as a keychain, transforming the Keyblade into Oathkeeper. And not only does each Keyblade have a unique appearance and a unique keychain, each one leaves a trail of a different color, and my favorite part, each Keyblade has a different sound when it hits an enemy. This is completely unnecessary, it wasn't needed, but it gives even more personality to each weapon. Kingdom Hearts has spoiled me, because now when I play, for example, Legacy of Kain Defiance, the last game I reviewed, not only is the sound of the Soul Reaver hitting really bad, but no matter how many elements you unlock, it's always the same, and that game came out a year after Kingdom Hearts. If you haven't played KH1, believe me, even though I'm talking about it in depth, I'm not even close to covering all the details it has. For example, one that doesn't exist in other installments, there is great freedom in when you can complete each world. Some of them you can even skip. You can skip Monstro, and if you play it after Hollow Bastion, there are alternate versions of all its cutscenes where Riku doesn't speak, and instead of there being drama about why is Riku trying to kidnap Pinocchio, it's implied that this is Ansem. There was no need to do this. They could have forced the player to complete the world and that's it, but no, they really put in the effort. And speaking of Riku and Ansem, in a final mix, they added a scene after Sora and Kairi's promise where you see Riku running on a dark path when he's helped by a mysterious voice that tells him to keep going. On one hand, it's not a bad scene because it kind of explains something. If Ansem possessed Riku's body, How come Ansem now has his own and Riku is still kind of fine and here? The logic is that Ansem used Riku's body to regenerate his own, and after Riku stopped him from finishing off Kairi, Donald and Goofy, Ansem exiled him to the depths of darkness, now linked but separate people. For you, this might make sense or not, it doesn't really matter. No, seriously, despite what many might want to make you believe, Kingdom Hearts isn't special because of its story, but because of the characters and the moments they star. The story, and by story I mostly mean lore, it's just the road the characters take. When someone mocks Kingdom Hearts' story, they mock these convoluted explanations, not what the saga is truly about, because they can't. Although this precisely is a scene I dislike. In the original version, you don't know what happens to Riku, nor if he regrets what he's done, so when he reappears in the finale, it's a surprise. And the smart player will remember this voice is the same that Sora heard in his dream and when he got the Keyblade, which sucks, because without this scene, you wouldn't have heard it until literally before the final boss. Sometimes, less is more. Okay, now we should return to Hollow Bastion, but Goofy recommends we visit the other worlds. It turns out that the moment Kairi was awake counted as unlocking the final keyhole, and its darkness is reaching all worlds, providing an excuse for new and more powerful enemies to appear in all levels. So defeating Riku-Ansem changes the entire game, which is why many players recommend doing everything you can before fighting Riku-Ansem, like the Olympus Coliseum tournaments or... the synthesis. I haven't mentioned it because I fucking hate it, but since Agrabah you can access a synth shop in Traverse Town, where you give materials to some Muggles and they turn them into items or accessories. Typical, right? Well, this is another thing that Final Mix ruined. In the original version, you just take down a decent number of Heartless, interact with the white mushrooms, unique Heartless that ask for help instead of attacking you, and that was it. But in Final Mix, all the fucking worlds now have unique Heartless that you have to defeat in specific ways to obtain unique materials. Some are fine, the Giga Shadow, the Poison Scorpion. I'm out of examples. There are about 8 more and they are a damn hassle. Sometimes they don't spawn, sometimes it's not clear how to get them to drop the material. If you don't look up a guide, good luck even finding them. And the cherry on top, since each enemy drops one material, you'll have to fight each one multiple times if you want to craft most of the items and accessories, especially the ultimate weapon, the best Keyblade in the game. I've done it twice. Once when I bought a 1.5 on the PlayStation 3 and again on the PlayStation 4 several years later. I don't plan on doing it ever again. But look, it's optional, so if you have a bad time, it's your fault. We return to Hollow Bastion where we played the only part of the game that I would remove. I don't understand why they make you land below and go back up the entire castle again. Hey, you already know the way, you already did the puzzles, you already took down the bosses, it doesn't take long, but considering we just did this, I don't like doing it again so soon. When you reach the top, you find the princesses awake. They saw Ansem dive into the darkness of the final keyhole, laughing. To seal it, you have to defeat the Behemoth, a Final Fantasy monster turned into a Heartless. It sounds super cool, but it's one of the most boring fights in the game. I don't understand why they put this after the two mega ultra battles that are Dragon Maleficent and Riku-Ansem. Maybe precisely because they're so important, they wanted to slow down the pace with this, but it leaves a bit of a bitter taste. Sora seals the keyhole, but it's pointless. Ansem has gone beyond to the everlasting darkness, and if he's not stopped, everything achieved so far will have been for nothing. The Final Fantasy characters go to Hollow Bastion, as it is their world of origin, and warn Sora that if he succeeds, the fallen worlds will be restored. But before, the worlds were protected by insurmountable walls, and these would also be restored. So Sora's victory will mean we won't be able to see any of the characters we've met so far again. People who haven't played this game are thinking, oh, that's so sad. Those who have played Kingdom Hearts 2 are laughing. Still, Sora knows he has to defeat Ansem, but don't head to the final level just yet. There are two very important things left. Explore this room thoroughly and you will find a Keyblade near the crystal where Maleficent or Ansem would have left Kairi. Oblivion. As you get it here where you face Riku-Ansem, it's a Keyblade of Darkness and it's called Oblivion, it's implied that it is the counterpart of Oathkeeper. If that one is a Keyblade of Light that symbolizes Kairi, Oblivion is a Dark Keyblade that symbolizes Riku. The name seems very appropriate to me, while the most important thing about the connection between Sora and Kairi is the promise they just swore. The connection between Sora and Riku is the memory of the friendship they had, falling into oblivion by Riku's actions. And if you go back to the library, you'll find Aerith there, who gives you several Ansem reports that Maleficent had collected. No one fucking reads them, but this is a pivotal moment, because here you realize that throughout the game, you were getting the odd number reports, which simply detail Ansem wondering about the nature of the universe, light, darkness, and keyholes while his world's going to hell. But the even number reports show how important it is to have complete information, because they detail that his world is going to hell because of the super fucked up experiments he's conducting. For example, in an odd report, Ansem writes, "Wow, when a Heartless encounters a heart, it corrupts and transforms it into another Heartless as a form of reproduction. Scientific observation. Harmless." Now, read the previous report, where Ansem writes, "I'm going to kidnap someone and throw them at this monster to see what happens." Read the reports, please. I know it sounds like a hassle, but if you could read the items in Dark Souls, you can read Ansem's reports. They may seem unimportant, but they're cool. Oh, and don't forget that although Aerith gives you the reports when you talk to her, and the second time you talk to her she has generic dialogue, talk to her a third time to upgrade your Cura to Curaga. Why is the most important spell's last upgrade so well hidden? I don't know, but it's the last weird fuck you from Kingdom Hearts. From here, we only go up. Now for real, we head to the final level, the end of the world. I love it when games, movies, or books put effort into their names when just hearing a few words generates anticipation. A final level called End of the World is exactly what I'm talking about. Kingdom Hearts usually gets these things right. When you see the first room, you might notice that Kingdom Hearts is doing another thing that I also love. In some works, there's an attempt to have everything end as it began. It's not necessary for a good story, but it's always cool when achieved. To give examples from other games, spoilers for Final Fantasy X and Clegobscu Expedition 33. Skip to this time if you don't want to hear them. Final Fantasy X begins with Tidus in Xenarkand harboring resentment towards his father. After being absorbed by Sin, there's a strange sequence where you float in a weird location where you see your father. It is here, inside Sin, where the final battle against Tidus' father takes place. Clegobscu begins in Lumiere, where Gustave has a sparring fight against Mael. Clegobscu ends in Lumiere, where Verso, who like Gustave, has a fraternal relationship with Mael, fights against her in a duel for the fate of their world. Kingdom Hearts began with a strange metaphysical sequence in the Dive to the Heart, and ends with a strange metaphysical sequence in the End of the World, even using the same songs. This last world is one of my favorite final levels in all video games. You start in a kind of infinite sea with invisible walls, which you can only see while fighting Heartless. Some chests contain items and others enemies, so you can't even trust them anymore. Upon reaching the end of the road, you are transported to a strange canyon. There are several hidden chests. It's a good last room to explore. Later on, you come across the Linked Worlds, a set of rooms, each containing a portal that transports you to the worlds you've already visited. It's another great detail that some games do, that the final level, or its prelude, makes you reminisce about the journey. Here we have a smaller version. You don't have to enter these copies, and even if you do, each one just contains a small fight and an irrelevant treasure, but it adds to that feeling of strangeness and mysticism the entire level has. Returning to all the worlds you've visited, each of which used to have its own songs, now replaced by the end of the world's peaceful yet unsettling themes, really makes you feel like you're at the end of your journey. When you arrive at the Hollow Bastion portal, you're taken to a room that you didn't find in the original world. There you find a strange machine with a document that talks about the heart of all worlds. Kingdom Hearts. It always makes me laugh to remember that the most important thing in the saga, the origin and core of all creation that gives the franchise its name, is revealed to you not in a cutscene, but in a text box that you won't be able to read again, as this portal disappears as soon as you leave it, replaced by a hole. Venturing into it takes you to a tornado in an ocean where you find a volcano and a true ultimate Disney villain, Chernabog. How could Maleficent be Disney's ultimate villain when they have their own Satan? It also makes me laugh to think that even if Ansem didn't exist, Maleficent would still have been defeated, unaware that there's someone more powerful than her interested in the supreme darkness. It's a shame that the fight doesn't keep the momentum. Since you're flying, although it's not as bad as swimming, you can't use most of your tools. Chernabog throws projectiles that almost always miss. His only real tactic is igniting the volcano, which, yes, is dangerous, but since it's the only dangerous thing, well, that's it. Here's a tip: you can make Sora walk on the volcano's surface so you can summon Tinkerbell and make the fight even easier. After defeating Chernabog, the true final challenge of this world arrives. In this room you will have to face an army of dark balls, invisibles, and angel stars, the last two being the strongest Heartless in the game. This is always a cool fight, as long as you're not playing on the hardest difficulty, and no, I don't mean proud. Most Kingdom Hearts games have an extra difficulty that allows you to play at level 1. When you start a game on Proud, you'll see that Sora has an ability called Zero Experience. Activating it prevents you from gaining experience, allowing you to play always at level 1. There are no trophies or rewards for doing this, it's just if you want to experience Kingdom Hearts with a hellish difficulty. Almost the entire game you can solve more or less well, but precisely this room is almost impossible. Fortunately, each game adds some aid so you don't deal 1 damage with all your hits. In Kingdom Hearts 1, your aid is damage expansion. All your finishers deal 2.5 more damage. But luckily, the developers didn't realize that if you do a finisher and instead of continuing to attack you use magic, your magic also deals 2.5 extra damage. This makes many bosses easier to defeat at level 1 by doing a single combo and killing them with a single summon. That is our secret weapon for this room. If you make a mega magic build and defeat the first wave, you can summon Simba and exterminate all the enemies with a mega roar. Now we have truly reached the end of the road. This room, appropriately named Final Rest, is the last save point before the final boss. We come across the same door we saw in the Dive to the Heart and the Destiny Islands, and the voice Sora heard in his dream returns to warn us that we are at the end of our journey. But don't worry, everything will be well. The door takes us to Destiny Islands. All the talking I did earlier about the game ending where it began wasn't just referring to the Dive to the Heart, I was also referring to the islands. At the beginning of this world, it's said to be a heartless world, a world without a heart, that is, a world consumed by its own darkness. Which world have we witnessed that happening in? Oh shit! Ours! What we've been exploring all this time, the final world is the first world, the end of Destiny Islands. You just have to look around you to see that little by little the islands are fading away. Trees and the bridge vanish, there's no sun. The game lets you roam free, but you know where to go. It's obvious.
This world has been connected.
Ansem appears, repeating the same words he did at the beginning of the game before launching into a little speech about how darkness is everything's true essence. But now, Sora is not the kid he used to be, and he has an answer for everything. Ansem rises and calls forth his stand. For some reason, Ansem fights by manipulating a powerful dark entity. You'll have to dodge its projectiles and find the right angle so that the entity doesn't block your attacks. You might find it too easy for the final boss, and you'd be right, this first phase is just the warm-up, but I appreciated that they included part of the final boss in the same setting where Sora had silly little fights with his friends. Ansem hides in a devastated area of the islands. Sora ventures in, but Donald and Goofy are blocked, and an old enemy rises. I have to say it again, Kingdom Hearts 1 is an expert at connecting story and gameplay. It could be enough to say, Sora is now level 65 and not 4, obviously he's stronger. But no, they put the enemy from the beginning of the game back in front of you. The one Sora used to be afraid of, so you can beat him up, making you feel just how much the adventure's main character and you have improved. Ansem returns, and this time he is indeed a final boss worthy of the title. For some, this is the best fight in the game. I prefer Riku-Ansem, particularly because his final attack is difficult to dodge, unlike Ansem's, which is just running around and that's it. But this fight is also incredibly awesome. In addition to everything he did before, Ansem gains a new projectile, attacks faster, and has a new and dangerous tackle, and suddenly makes his strongest attack, the infamous Submit! Which, if it hits you, it curses you, and the dark entity will beat you up and grab you to immobilize you while Ansem hits you, a very dangerous and original attack. When you win, the fight might have been so good that you think it's all over, but it has just begun.
Behold the endless abyss. Within it lies the heart of all worlds. Kingdom Hearts. Look as hard as you are able. You'll not find even the smallest glimmer of light. From those dark depths are all hearts born. Even yours. Darkness conquers all worlds!
We are in 2002. At this time, you weren't a Final Fantasy if you didn't have a final battle with 17 phases where at least one of them was a titanic abomination. Ansem has transformed into this thing called World of Chaos, which makes Darkseid look like an ant. It seems that we won't even be able to reach it due to the complete absence of ground. But...
Come on, Sora. I thought you were stronger than that.
That moment of Sora flying and summoning his Keyblade to face Ansem without any fear is... Ugh! Even some games don't know how to do a proper presentation, but this one does. A shame that the fight itself isn't that good. The real final boss is Ansem 2, the one you just had. Here, once again, as you're flying, you don't have access to most of your techniques. Here it's a bit better, like Ansem now attacks with a double saber. You can attack to clash with him and block his hits. He shoots lasers that require some effort to dodge, and occasionally he summons little bugs, so the fight is good. It's just that it's not as good as the one we just had. But the enemy itself is not Ansem, it's the World of Chaos. When we reduce his health to 0, Ansem retreats to heal, so we turn our attention to the world. This is really awesome. We gradually destroy multiple parts of it, getting inside to damage it from within and rescuing Donald and Goofy until we literally blow his dick off and destroy his core, breaking his defenses. If you could already defeat Ansem with just Sora, with Donald and Goofy it becomes a beatdown, a playable catharsis that means you've already won. Enjoy slapping the shit out of the bad guy. But like a good villain, Ansem refuses to die and drops a bomb. One Keyblade cannot close Kingdom Hearts. Ansem opens it to seize the supreme darkness. And Sora lets him because he knows what Kingdom Hearts is really made of.
You're wrong. I know now, without a doubt, Kingdom Hearts is light.
I love Ansem as a villain because if you pay attention to his dialogue, even during the fights, he always speaks like a scientist, talking about origins, essences, confusion, and answers. Everything he's done is because he believed he had figured out the nature of all creation, the darkness. He became obsessed with it and turned into a dark entity to be able to dominate the supreme and primordial darkness. But for one reason or another, he refused to understand that everything has light and darkness. Ansem is not wrong when he says that Kingdom Hearts, the heart of all worlds, contains the supreme darkness. But if there is supreme darkness, there is also supreme light. Both when you defeat him in combat and when he dies, his last words are questions.
Is this the answer? It can't be. Light! Oh. But why?
A great ending for a scientist who knows nothing and couldn't understand nothing. I turned his own words against them. That felt cool! If I ever do an Ansem video, I'll do it again. See you there. But this also means that there is indeed a supreme darkness in Kingdom Hearts and it must be closed. I've always found it somewhat comical that even after everything we've just done, the big drama is closing a door that's ridiculously huge. It seems impossible, but two people come to our aid. Riku appears and helps close the door. It will be detailed more in future games, but here it can already be noticed that Riku has realized that his ego almost caused the universe to die. He is remorseful and wants to make things right. But it doesn't matter. The darkness is starting to unleash and without another Keyblade, we're lost. Then...
Your Majesty!
Now, Sora, let's close this door for good!
This is one of the best Deus Ex Machina in any story. You've spent the entire game looking for Mickey, Disney's symbol, and now you discover that he's been on another adventure on the other side of Kingdom Hearts all this time so that both keys are where they need to be to save the universe. You close the door. Sora and Mickey raise the kingdom keys to the sky. This is the last keyhole, which fades away, leaving a terrible bittersweet taste. We did it! We saved the universe! But Riku and Mickey are left lost on the other side. Sora has a flashback that helps us understand a bit more the pain of this loss. When we enter the story, we see a little of the friendship between these two before Riku's fall, but for Sora, he's been his friend for a decade. Kairi appears. It may seem strange, but we see that she is confused and her feet are on sand instead of the strange grey rock that seems to make up this place. By sealing Kingdom Hearts, the fallen worlds and the people who inhabited them will be restored, which means that sand was all that remained of the Destiny Islands, and Kairi was its only survivor, showing how close we were to the extinction of the universe. Sora could return to the islands, but someone has to look for Riku and Mickey. He says goodbye to Kairi and they both watch as the other flies away. I love this ending because on a grand scale, what has been achieved is miraculous. In a story where entire worlds were dying, our actions not only stop this apocalypse, but the worlds are restored and the people who were in them are revived. It's an exaggerated level of success. In almost any other story it would be vomitously optimistic, but the game is aware of what truly matters to Sora and what truly matters to us. Sora has saved the universe, but his original goal, finding his two friends, is a great failure. They are as far away as they could be, literally each in a different dimension. Kairi stays on the islands in the realm of light, Riku trapped in the realm of darkness, and Sora ventures into the realm of in-between. The game ends with Kairi finding the drawing that Sora made at the beginning, in which he drew himself giving her a papa fruit. The last thing Kairi said to Sora before the islands were destroyed was for him to never change. And despite having changed from an ordinary boy to the savior of the universe, his love for her remains the same. Kairi responds not only by drawing another papu, but a bigger one. The end. The truth is, I almost wish I could stop talking now. This ending is perfect. It's one of my favorite endings of everything. Square knew how to make them. Look at Final Fantasy from 6 to 10. They have that perfect mix of victory and failure, reality and magic, light and darkness. But if I stop now, I am leaving out many important things about the game because no, not yet, Snake. It's not over yet. The game truly ends with Sora, Donald and Goofy finding Pluto with another letter from King Mickey and chasing him while they smile. A way of saying that the adventure continues and that despite how emotional the ending can be, your final emotion should be joy. But if you overcome some specific challenges, the last thing you actually see is the secret ending. Iron Man didn't invent post-credit scenes that give you a hint about future movies in 2008. No, in 2002, Kingdom Hearts gave you a secret ending that showed you a piece of a future game without any context. In this one, what stands out is the very different aesthetic. It's dark and the action much more stylish. We see a hooded blonde boy wielding the two most unique keyblades in the game, Oathkeeper and Oblivion, facing an army of humanoid shadows and encountering another boy. His long white hair makes us think that he might be an older Riku. During the conflict we see a countdown from number 13 to 1, and different phrases that will be said during Kingdom Hearts 2 appear. The final touch is that the game shows you a drawing and some statistics while the title screen theme, Dearly Beloved, plays in a music box, a way to relax the player after everything that has happened. Now you can stop playing. Or face the true great challenges of the game. You see, stories usually have 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Sometimes there is a prologue at the beginning and an epilogue or denouement at the end, but the video game, once again, is different. It's not just a story, it's a product of entertainment. Some games can reach a mechanical complexity not very different from an instrument's. So some games, particularly RPGs, have a kind of Act 4. In games, Acts 1, 2, and 3 are usually called early game, mid game, and end game, but they also have post game. In most Kingdom Hearts games, this is literal. The final challenges are unlocked after defeating the final boss. Once again, this first installment had not yet established its foundations. You can access almost all the post-game content after defeating Riku-Ansem, so you can take down all the secret bosses before even entering End of the World. The only challenge that is not clear whether it belongs to the endgame or the postgame is the Hades Cup. The first 3 Olympus Coliseum tournaments are pretty standard, but the Hades Cup lasts 5 times longer and contains 2 unique fights. Hades himself, who isn't super strong but can catch you off guard, and the Rock Titan, who turns out to be a joke as he weighs so much that he can barely move while you smash him to bits. It can be somewhat difficult if you go straight to it after fighting Riku-Ansem, but it's not that bad. What's really something though are the secret bosses. Kingdom Hearts 1 has 5 secret bosses hidden throughout the worlds. The first is Phantom in Neverland. This thing uses Final Fantasy's Doom spell, placing a 12-second timer on your allies who will die when it reaches 0. Obviously you can win in 36 seconds, but you might notice that Big Ben moves along with that counter. You must use the stop spell to stop Big Ben in time to stop the curse, and stay alert while fighting Phantom to stop it again when the effect ends. This sounds awesome, and it might be if it weren't for the fact that actually fighting Phantom is very boring. You can't just hit it, it has an orb that changes color. If it's white, you whack it. If it's red, blue or yellow, you cast fire, blizzard or thunder. Its attacks are easy to dodge, and if it hits you, it doesn't matter because it takes it half an hour to attack again. Stopping the curse is really cool, but the rest of the fight is pretty lame. The second boss is Kurt Ziza in Agrabah. This is something else. This time Kurt casts Silence, which prevents you from using magic and summons. Considering how much you rely on Cure in this game, this is terrifying. Kurt Ziza will switch between physical and magical forms. In his physical form, he attacks you with tremendous agility for someone his size with his multiple swords, and in his magical form, he covers himself with a barrier that you must break with magic or summons while he throws lightning and sandstorms at you. This fight is one of the most underrated in all of Kingdom Hearts. I love it. The next 2 bosses are found in the Olympus Coliseum. After completing all the tournaments, the gold battle appears, which turns out to be the Ice Titan. This battle is a bit like Phantom for me. Good idea, questionable result. It's a defensive challenge. You can't reach him, so to damage him you have to return the ice shards he throws at you. As the fight goes on, he'll start using attacks that are harder to dodge, and you have to stay calm under the constant siege. It's not bad, but it ends up feeling too long to me. On the other hand, we have the All the novice players wonder what is this and enter without knowing what they agreed to. The fucking Sephiroth! If there's a Disney secret boss, there has to be a Final Fantasy secret boss. Being able to fight Sephiroth in a real-time action RPG was the absolute best. Let's not forget, this is pre-remakes, pre-Dissidia, and even pre-Advent Children. Now we're all very cool because we've played other games, we're older, we pay more attention. But when you were a kid, this fight felt like... Sephiroth seems to be designed to be a Riku-Ansem tenfold. At first he only attacks with basic sword slashes, though for Sephiroth basic means 4 meters, but well, and columns of fire. But in his second phase he starts running and using one of his most powerful attacks, Heartless Angel. You have to interrupt it. If you don't, he leaves your magic at 0 and your health at 1, so your only hope is to use an elixir before he cuts your head off. Pocas veces es vulnerable. And finally, in his third phase, he powers up and will never stop being powered up. He summons Dark Orbs before each of his attacks. His basic slash is now a powerful helix that lifts him up, and he has 2 ultimate attacks, Octo Slash, a barrage of slashes you must block, and Supernova. Sephiroth summons meteors that orbit around his spirit bomb before launching it at you. When this game started, you were fighting children. If Kurt Ziza is amazing, Sephiroth is one of the best fights in the entire saga. People tend to forget because of the fame of the data fights in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, but this Sephiroth surpasses most of them. And finally, a worse yet much more important fight. Because Kingdom Hearts not only has a secret ending that shows you something from the next game, Kingdom Hearts has a secret boss who will be an important character in a future game. Returning to where you defeated Maleficent leads you to encounter a hooded figure similar to the one at the secret ending, but clearly older. There's dialogue before the battle. This figure recognizes the name Ansem and challenges Sora to prove his strength. This boss, called Unknown, attacks as quickly or even faster than Sephiroth, wielding 2 lightsabers and throwing bolts of lightning. In fact, when someone plays Kingdom Hearts for the first time now, they think he's a Sith from Star Wars, but this character was created 10 years before Disney bought the franchise. Unknown will both make strong melee attacks and retreat to shoot you from a distance, but by this point this shouldn't be too difficult for you, especially because, unlike with Sephiroth, you have Donald and Goofy on your side, throwing mountains of Kuragas and MP at you if you set them up correctly. Even his ultimate attack isn't very bothersome. The only problem is his curse. It's cool because it breaks the 4th wall. Your commands will be renamed Shock and Release, and you have to press Release, which will move from command to get rid of the curse while dodging Unknown. But this good idea ends up being crap because the speed at which it moves is crazy. Most people end up using the pause button to catch it. So the fight is fine, but turns out to be disappointing compared to the secret bosses we'll see in the future of the saga. Unknown accuses Sora of not being complete, implying that he knows something about Sora that he himself does not. And when asked who he is, he simply responds, a mere shell. He vanishes, leaving behind Ansem's 13th report. In this report, Ansem once again speaks about the Heartless's origin. When a person dies under certain circumstances, their heart is dominated by the darkness within and transforms into a Heartless. But then, what happens to the body it leaves behind? Is it possible for a body to exist without its heart? Its soul? Even if it could, it shouldn't. So Ansem calls these empty bodies that shouldn't exist, nobodies. Knowing what happens in Kingdom Hearts 2, it's so cool to see that word in the first game. It makes the story feel much better linked. And with that word, we have truly finished everything that Kingdom Hearts 1 has to offer. Despite the clear flaws of rating a game by giving it a score, flaws that become much more obvious as stranger reviews are released, I like being able to give a number to each game and order hundreds of stories, but it's not enough. Sometimes a game is mediocre, but it does something unique that makes it stand out. So when I review a game, I'll give it a score, but I'll also answer 2 important questions, thus sharing the game's value more accurately. The score is... it's a fucking 10 out of 10. Whether you like it or not, does this game have flaws? Yes, without a doubt, but there's 2 things about those flaws. First, most of them annoy you when you play for the first time. Once you know them, that's it. Second, the ones that still annoy you no matter how many times you play are so small and insignificant compared to everything this game does. Kingdom Hearts 1 gives you a super long adventure with very good exploration in its worlds, full of overflowing details, very good combat with dozens of bosses, several minigames, most optional thank god, and a great story that starts simple but ends up being extremely emotional. I don't want to say spoilers, but I'll say that I, personally, enjoy Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 more than 1, but neither will get a 10 out of 10 because, setting my personal feelings aside, both titles have more significant flaws that end up leaving behind a less polished game. The only Kingdom Hearts that deserves a 10, even almost 25 years later, is this first adventure. You can imagine the answer to is it special is a decisive yes for how, in addition to everything I just said, combines narrative and gameplay to create emotions of adventure, wonder, fear of the unknown, and growth. The answer to should you buy it is also a yes because this game is in the 1.5 plus 2.5 pack. Most games cost double what this pack does, and this one contains 3 games more, one of which is another masterpiece, another one is alright, and the other one is Rechain of Memories. I've reviewed games that I care about, but this is the first time that I review a game that I care about and is famous. So if you enjoyed the video, write in the comments, tell me if I skipped something important, and if you didn't enjoy it, lie. Thanks for getting this far, and I hope I'll see you again someday in Castle Oblivion.